I wish the lover has to keep the wish of the beloved. My wish for my lovers is as follows: do not shirk your responsibilities. Attend, attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but always keep at the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. When you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. Be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely. Baba has placed me in this situation. With the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments.
Avatar
Avatar,
Meher Baba
Meher
ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai. Beautiful.
Jai Baba Karthik.
Jai
This
Baba.
the last message where Baba says comes to me.
Ah,
Are we clear? What does it mean? Actually, it is ordinary mukti. Kama is not there, so I thought
no, Kama is there.
He
he's
was
there.
there for some time. I think
Okay.
it means to merge when the soul gets merged with the oversoul. That's what
No, no,
I
no.
think.
This is very generic, Ashokji. I mean,
Yeah.
we are following a process, fifth plane, sixth plane, and then we are saying ordinary mukti and no, all that. So I think it is about ordinary mukti, and that we are not
I,
born again.
I,
What does it mean actually?
I think it is my ordinary mukti only, but
So
I
if
don't
it
know if
is,
this has been
yeah, I
explained
think
anywhere.
let us understand this. And does it mean that we are not born again, or we are born again?
Ordinary mukti means we are not born again.
Okay, so that much is ensured, is it? Guaranteed.
If
Guaranteed
you
returns like a policy, right?
if you mention his name in the last, yes. And this is actually even beyond Baba, right? So most of the traditions, and of course Hinduism
Yes, yes.
as well, talks
Correct.
about the last breath and the reference of
Ha.
God on your lips.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
I think I mean it's a very good pass. So
Okay, so
But there
we'll
is
discuss
there
it
is no
some other
guarantee.
time. Yeah, yeah.
No,
Jai Baba.
I believe that. Look, Jay Baba, I believe that there is no guarantee. I think a lot of people use this as an excuse. That I think it's at the discretion of the avatar or the perfect master or the
Okay.
avatar whether to give us mukti. Because if you have a lot of sanskaras, you have to go through it. You can't just
Yeah.
play the game without crossing the sanskaras. What it means is that I think the best minimum common denominator I can say is that means you'll be under Baba's umbrella for the rest of your life, eternally speaking. Whatever you
Hmm.
do, whether you become an idiot after that and try to increase the number of life cycles, then also
Hmm.
Baba will be there. So the way
Yeah, yeah.
I like to interpret it is that Ki Baba is because part of the divine theme is that it is important to the last impression before you drop your physical body is the most important thing actually in our life. That is the most important part of our life. What is the last impression or imprint that you have in your mind, the thought process? That is why in our religion we keep playing all this devotional music when a person is dying, so that at least you are in that particular vibration and it will help you in your next thing. Now why it is like that, I don't know, but that is
Yeah.
the rule of the game. So that is what
Right.
I would say is that one thing Baba I'm very sure about is Baba said, once you come under my umbrella, I will never leave you, however much you
Right.
go against me. So that is
Right.
how I say
So
Baba.
he holds on to us. I mean, I take it like that. Yeah. Jai Baba. Thank
It's
you.
like a parent.
Right,
It's
right.
like
Yeah.
a
Yes.
parent.
Yes.
A
Yes.
parent, irrespective of how the child is,
will take responsibility and say that I given birth to this child and he's an idiot, but I have to take responsibility for him. That's it. You know.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Kama, you beautifully put it, and especially the karmic balance. I think the chapter on sanskara says that you got to have zero sanskaras or the grace of the perfect master for this journey of from duality to reality. If you have the grace of the perfect masters, then from the sixth plane to the seventh plane, or even from 0 to 7, you can reach just by the glance or his blessing. I think that's what is very uh, significant, which I am like etched in my mind, sort of engraved like a tattoo.
In an instant. Anyway, but I still think that it is a pass because of two reasons. One, Baba has said it multiple times in multiple places about the importance of repeating his name and repeating his name in a with a very very clear objective that it is the only thing that you remember when you breathe your last. And second, it's across avataric traditions, right? So I think that though the divine law says that sanskaras drive it and not necessarily you can't beat the divine law in from a sanskara standpoint. I think this is the only pass that's allowed, right? So that's why I used the word pass, right? So this pass is something that I don't think there are any exceptions. You can get OM, but I still am struggling as to the logic for it. In the sense, why should there such a pass exist? Why should there such an exception exist to the application of divine law? I don't have an answer, right? That's my perspective on it, but nice discussion.
It's probably
Okay.
his grace or his whim. I could call it. It's a whim. If you can't explain it, I think it's a whim.
Yeah, probably his way of saying, hey, you've dedicated your whole life to remembering me, and here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's
No,
not a
it's
whim.
it's very context.
Whim may happen or may not happen, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
Whim is not predictable. I think here it is more reassuring
Grace.
that you are coming to me. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Yeah, once.
I think that when you read that definition of ordinary mukti, it is clearly says for God fearing people after they drop their body, then there is a probability of getting ordinary mukti or moksha, which means that that person is already on the path. Okay, he might have a few sanskaras, and I don't know why Baba says God fearing, which means that person is really doing it as per the law, like in the sense that following the book. There are people who cultivate certain habits because it is in the book, and it is not natural or spontaneous, but they still follow the law because whether they believe it or not, they are still sticking to the law and following the laws. And I feel that this is going to be on a individual to individual drop soul basis, and only those who have the grace of that particular avatar or teacher will be able to get ordinary moksha or mukti. So I think it has to be very careful how we interpret this, because there is somebody in the Baba community I know who interprets this. Oh, you just remember Baba and you will get mukti. That's wrong. I think there is a wrong interpretation. Jai Baba.
Sure. So, with that, let's start reading. So, we are in part 3 of the book. There are 5 parts. Sanjay ji, you were not able to read yesterday. So, why don't you start with part 3? Are you okay to do that?
One
Are you in
minute.
position to do that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I'll be able to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Jai
sure. Go
Baba.
ahead.
Questions about Masiha or Avatar. What is the theory of the manifestation of an avatar? Next question. Why, when so many inspired religions already existed, were additional revelations of God as avatar required? 16, part 1. Will the new avatar replace existing organized religions by something else? Number 2. Will any changes take place in the existing religions when Shri Meher Baba imparts the spiritual push to the world? Next question. Will an avatar ever appear in feminine form? Next is, will the West ever give birth to an avatar? Oh, last question is interesting. Yeah. Editor's note. In several of these answers, a knowledge of the doctrines of reincarnation and of karma is assumed. Reincarnation means rebirth of the spirit in another physical body. Karma is the law of cause and effect, which governs every detail of our present lives and also of our subsequent rebirths. Number 2, the 7 planes of consciousness are often referred to. They are intellect, lower inspiration, intuition, insight, higher inspiration, illumination. The sixth plane, which is only experienced by the greatest saints, that is illumination. And Christ consciousness. The seventh plane is separated by a great gulf from the sixth, and no one can cross it and attain Christ consciousness without the aid of a perfect master.
Okay, I'll just pause you for a minute. Just look at these questions way back here. So 14 through 18. And just as context or reminder of context to all of us, this is 1933. It's not yet, Baba has not yet declared himself as Avatar. But if you look at the questions, they are very personal to Baba, right? So if you look at this, for example, uh, he says, will the new avatar replace existing religions? So I'm just
Yeah.
placing the context in front of you as to how these people would have asked and what Baba is to them in their mind, right? So if you look at 16A and B, 16A goes, will the new avatar replace existing organized religions by something else? So probably Baba has been saying there is an avatar coming, right? 16B, will any changes take place in the existing religions when Sri Meher Baba imparts the spiritual push to the world? Again, no hint of avatar. Spiritual push will be done by me, is probably what he said, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
just setting the
So
context as we
that's my
unravel this.
purpose. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Karthik, if I may just add
Sure.
a thought, I'm just referring to the chart 11 on God Speaks. So it says that, it says here that, I mean, you can just interpret it as from the sixth plane to the seventh, it's a big giant leap. They've shown by an arrow, end of the first divine journey. That's Manonash, Nirvikalpa, and then, of course, the higher Brahmibrut, Paramahansa, Jivan Mukta, and Avatar. So I think it's a beautiful summary, and I think, and as Kama has always said, to print these charts and keep. I wish I could keep it somewhere. Just all print and keep it. It's a beautiful. Yeah, this just you can come go a little below, please. Little below. See from. Oh, sorry, where is it? Yeah, from just a little below, from 6 to 7. That they've shown the dark lines. Yeah, just a little below, please.
I think it's the previous page. The way this is done
Acha,
is,
okay. So from 6 to 7, they've shown that you know, there's a big jump or a quantum leap. Yeah, no, yeah, it's here. I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, this is better. Yeah.
yeah, it's better. So if you see this, there's a they show 1 to 6, and then 7 is then of course Manonash, then Nirvikalpa. I know you can't expand it more, maybe, probably, but in the center in red is Manonash and Nirvikalpa. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. Thank you, Karthik. So that's Manonash,
Yeah.
Nirvikalpa,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. So Sanjay ji, probably this would answer some of the
Correct.
questions.
Correct.
I just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah. That is actually the number itself. The 50, there are only 56 people who are at that level, right? If I correctly understand.
No, you can.
So yeah, so in the seventh plane. So sheerly from the point of view of number of people or the souls which are available on the earth. So this has to be rarest of the rarest of the rare actually. Jai Baba.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. I mean, I'm just saying the same thing in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jai Baba.
just a reminder. I mean, I thought
Right, right. Yeah.
and this is I go by charts and numbers, so I think this is what.
Okay.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
is the
Jai Baba.
theory of the manifestation of an avatar? God realized masters always do exist on the physical as well as on the other planes, but are not always known and seen physically. After cycles of years, when spirituality reaches its lowest ebb and materialism is highest point, when there is chaos and confusion everywhere, the impersonal aspect of divinity assumes personality, and the world sees the physical manifestation of an avatar. It is the same divine personality who manifested as avatar in past times in different physical bodies and under different names. These avatars, the world usually recognizes them as prophets. After completing their mission of giving a great spiritual push to humanity, abandon the physical body and assume once more the original impersonal aspect of divinity. But even in their impersonal aspect, they remain always self conscious of their divinity.
Clinical
Yeah,
definition, but then interesting twist in the last line.
Yes,
But
yes.
even in their impersonal aspect, they remain always self-conscious of their divinity. So this is, of course,
yeah.
reference to Avatar. So please bear in mind, this is
Mhm.
not the individuality post-realization, but individuality post-realization or recognition of divinity post-realization. I mean, post prophethood in physical form.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, you have a big office with thousands of people working, like we have our company. And, the Mukesh Bhai once in a while visits and sets, everything, it's like that. So he has to visit to see things that, things are set right. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Jai Baba. And it also is a translation of Krishna's Yada Yada Dharmasya
Perfect.
Glanir Bhavati Bharat. Yeah, Jai Baba. I read the question again. Why, when so many inspired religions already existed, were additional revelations of God as avatar required? At the time of the manifestation of an avatar, the force of the new spiritual impulse is so tremendous that it creates quite a new awakening of consciousness. This, combined with the teachings and activities of the avatar on the physical plane during the life in which he manifests himself, is given outward form by his followers who call it a new religion. This is what we were discussing other day. The others, it's not created by the avatar. The religions are created by the followers. Yeah. As the force of the spiritual push gradually weakens with the lapse of time, the spirituality also recedes until it almost sinks into insignificance. Religion, or rather the outward form of it, becomes like a dry crust, ready to crumble at any moment, and world conditions reach a climax. It is at this critical juncture that an avatar appears and manifests on the physical plane to give once again the spiritual impulse that the world then requires. The force of the spiritual push is again adopted as a new outward religious form according to the existing circumstances. The avatar, after completing his mission, abandons his physical body and assumes the impersonal aspect of divinity as before, till he is compelled once more by force of circumstances to take the human form and reappear and manifest as an avatar. And thus the process goes on and on. This is why the contemporary religions have apparently different forms owing to the different times and circumstances in which they were established, and when they are known after the name of the avatar of that particular period, though in essence they contain the same ideal of life taught over and over again by the same divinity who appeared and manifested on earth at different times and under different circumstances. Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing. This is very beautiful, and even for Baba lovers, this is uh,
Very relevant.
in general community. This funda has to be clear that
Right.
this makes us that we should not be criticizing any of the avatars. Typically, the current political environment we get to, if you don't directly do it, we enjoy watching it on television, talking of those things. Many of the people I know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
can,
yeah. Jai
Sanjay
Baba.
ji, can I read it again?
Please. Oh yes.
The last paragraph. It's
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
it's really very significant, and I think this is the message for peace and all the differences,
Right, right. This has to be fully ingrained in our minds. Yeah.
and also
What?
the young minds, the children.
Yes, yes,
What
absolutely.
Kama, what Kama is doing a great job. I don't know he's not
Yeah.
whether he's fine or not, but
This is why the contemporary religions have apparently different forms, owing to the different times and circumstances in which they were established, and they are known after the name of the avatar of that particular period. Though, in a sense, they contain the same ideal of life taught over and over again by the same divinity who appeared and manifested on earth at different times and under different circumstances. So, the story that Irach says in
Exactly.
Mandlihall.talk says the Quaker Oat story.
I
So,
was reminded
that's,
of that
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, Quaker Oat. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, but then the Quaker Oats example is something that this answer does not cover. So in the Quaker Oats
Yeah,
analogy, Baba brings out the fact that the relevance of the message is based on the context at which he appears again,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is not actually
In
in this
that
answer.
story, yeah, yeah.
In
But
that
there he
story,
says, "I am the same one." In a
exactly.
new
Correct,
package. Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And he
It's much
says
more
that
simpler. Yeah, that
much
doesn't
more
cover
simpler
the
analogy. And then,
correct.
of course, he beautifully brings the concept of why would somebody use a old packet, right? Why would I
Yeah,
even stick to the old part, especially
yeah,
if I'm a mother and I'm looking at it for my kid? So it's a very powerful story.
yeah, yeah.
And I was reminded of that. Thank you,
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
That aspect is brought in the last line here also.
Different circumstances, yes, the
Yeah,
different times and different circumstances. But then I think, yeah, uh, but I'm also uh, intrigued by how beautifully the same message is packaged differently by each avatar, right?
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah,
So, and that packaging and that messaging is based on the readiness of the humanity to receive it at that point,
Yes.
yes.
right?
And other aspect which we discussed the other day is that it's not the avatar who gives any religion; it's the people around him, the
Who build
followers
it? Yes, yes,
build it around. Yeah, Jai
yes,
Baba.
yes. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a very, very interesting gem of a book. I think, like Beams, we have to popularize this book a lot more. Very, very nice messages, which are very,
Yeah,
very
much
powerful.
simpler, and these questions are there in everybody's mind. So,
True.
very uh, common questions that most of the people have. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
Jay Baba, I think very pertinent and also uh, the relevance to the context and the times. This is something this, this can clear out the differences between all the messages and the teachings the same in all religions, in all communication. It's just it's the context makes it a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
the new avatar replace existing organized religions by something else? The new awakening of the spirit and the new consciousness that will accompany his manifestation will synthesize all existing sects, castes, and creeds and religions, which will automatically find a new outward expression. Uh, I think let me read it again. The new awakening of the spirit and the new consciousness that will accompany his manifestation will synthesize all existing sects, castes, and creeds and religions, which will automatically find a new outward expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means a new humanity that will evolve will respect all the religions ultimately. That's what I think I'm getting. New outward expression means that I am not stuck with only one. I respect everyone. So and love everyone. Though may I follow one particular religion, but I respect everything else. Jai Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Sure.
Will any changes that take place in the existing religions Will any changes take place in the existing religions when Shri Meher Baba imparts the spiritual push to the world? All collective movements and religions have hinged around one personality who supplied the motive force. Okay. Without this centrifugal force, all movements are bound to fail. Societies and organizations have never succeeded in making people attain spiritual perfection.
So this is a
I
powerful
think,
para again. I think
yes,
if you see
we
the
need to
key,
understand it.
Yeah.
yeah, the key
Let me
word
read the
is, yeah, read it again, please. Yeah.
yeah. Will any changes take place in the existing religions when Shri Meher Baba imparts the spiritual push to the world? All collective movements and religions have hinged around one personality who supplied the motive force. Without this centrifugal force, all movements are bound to fail. Societies and organizations have never succeeded in making people attain spiritual perfection.
So it
It is
clearly
indirectly,
mentions that
yeah,
the central force is only by the avatar
Correct.
over the different avatars actually,
yes,
but it never is by the societies or organizations or say structured religion with their Sharia or things like that make will lead you to spiritual perfection. It is only surrendering to the primal motive force that can take you in the spiritual force perfection.
yes. Right, right. So he is hinting that when I declare as avatar, so you'll have to follow me in
Yeah.
a way. Yeah, yes.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Will an avatar ever appear in feminine form? Never has been a female avatar, nor will there ever be one. The avatar has always possessed a male form and always will. Yet he comprises in himself both the male and female aspects. Will the West ever give birth to an avatar? This is interesting. Asia is the Garden of Eden, the starting place of the evolution of the universe. And because of its direct link with the source of creation and an account of its geographical position, it will always be the birthplace of the divine personality as avatar. So the Christ's birth is also has to be considered as Asia.
Yes, it
That's
is
in West, right? Yeah, that is considered as
Jerusalem.
West. Jerusalem is West or Asia?
Asia, part of
Asia
Asia.
only, parts of Asia only. Okay.
And there's some story about Christ in Kashmir also. I don't know what is that.
That is
Not a
after
story.
resurrection, no?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a
That is,
story. It's almost. So Baba has
yeah.
said it, and in fact, I had heard that as a story, like you said, before I came to Baba. There are books and research on that
Yeah,
topic,
yeah.
and then Baba
Correct.
has been very categorical. He has even pointed to the world where Jesus is buried. So
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
Harwan,
yeah.
Harwan in Kashmir.
Harwan, yeah. And I think there is a news there there's going to be a big investment around Harwan.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be developed, that area.
okay. So obviously, the organized religions have an agenda for not bringing out certain things that happened, and that's not our lookout. But then Baba's very clear. He has said what is to be said on this topic. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think this also looks logical from the race that Kashmiris have. They are very different. I mean, if you see the race from Christ came, and the Kashmiris, tall, fair people, and on the other side of the hill, you have Chinese who are so short and different,
Hmm.
different features. So the race itself shows that they are different, actually.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
also, I think it has a lot of spiritual and religious significance, even from a Hinduism standpoint, which is emerging. Which is at least for me, I did not know much about it. There's a lot of, I mean, there is a Shankaracharya's has set up a matha there, and so on and so forth, and so it's a
Mm.
significant a place of significance for sure. And I think slowly it will get back to its old glory.
Yeah, we should plan a visit of MBA to Harvan
Sure.
along with Dharsh,
Yes, the
all our
locals.
local interpreters. Jai Baba. Just a thought.
Sure. So, Kama, why don't you read section 4? Are you in a position to do so?
No, I'm on the road, so
Okay.
somebody read,
So,
please.
Nanaji,
Yes, yes, I will read.
sure. Go ahead.
Section 4, questions about spiritual masters. 19, how many are recognized?
How may one?
How may one recognize a perfect master? Okay. What does Shri Meher Baba say about the masters of the past? Are persons who can perform miracles necessarily spiritually perfect? Why and when do masters perform miracles? If a master is God incarnate, why does he allow his disciples to be ill? How is it that a master, being superhuman, still has hunger, thirst, and the need of sleep? Why, if he knows everything, does the master ask questions? Yes, interesting question.
Interesting set of questions, right? Yeah, let's go ahead.
Answers. How may one recognize a perfect master? Kabir has rightly said, when you meet the true Guru, he will awaken your heart. He will reveal to you the secret of love and detachment. Then you will know indeed that he transcends this universe. Okay. He is the real Guru who reveals the form of the formless to the vision of these eyes, who teaches the simple way of attaining him, that is, other than rites and ceremonies, who does not make you close the doors and hold the breath and renounce the world, who makes you perceive the Supreme Spirit wherever the mind attaches itself, who teaches you to be still in the midst of all your activities, ever immersed in bliss, having no fear in his mind. He keeps the spirit of union in the midst of all enjoyments. From a translation by Rabindranath Tagore of the 15th century saint and poet Kabir. So the answer is from Kabir's uh, one of
That's
the
it. Yeah.
stanzas,
Two, two,
couplet.
two, two couplets maybe. The first one is
Yes.
one clear couplet, and then second is another, or
Second is the translation by Rabindranath Tagore of this particular couplet, probably.
hmm,
So I'll
correct.
read it once again
Sure.
because Kabir has rightly said, when you meet the Guru, the first three lines here refer to that, I think. When you meet the true Guru, he will awaken your heart. He will reveal to you the secret of love and detachment. Then you will know indeed that he transcends this universe. Uh, he is the real Guru who reveals the form of the formless to the vision of these eyes, who teaches the simple way of attaining him that is other than rites and ceremonies, who does not make you close the doors and hold the breath and renounce the world, who makes you perceive the Supreme Spirit wherever the mind attaches itself, who teaches you to be still in the midst of all your activities, ever immersed in bliss, having no fear in his mind. He keeps the spirit of union in the midst of all enjoyments. From a translation by Rabindranath Tagore of the 15th century saint and poet Kabir. Okay. So the question here was, how may one recognize a perfect master? So it is the heart which recognizes the perfect master, as I can briefly put it,
Yeah.
because it is the perceiver who recognizes the master, and master does not announce or probe it that he is the master and other things.
So I'm a little disappointed with this answer. Baba has got away light.
Ah,
We should, because this is a very key question, and
hmm,
a question that has crossed all the minds of Baba lovers, I'm sure. As we look around ourselves to see who are the current perfect masters and so on. So this is what should I say? It's 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 a it's a he's taken an easy way out in answering this question, I would say, to transfer the burden to Kabir and Rabindranath Tagore. Okay.
what does Sri Meher Baba say about the masters of the past? So the answer is Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, Zoroaster, Krishna, and other masters were all, in reality, the embodiment of the same divine self consciousness, manifesting according to the needs of different periods and of different countries. So it is the same divine self consciousness.
So again, masters as a word is very loosely used here. It's not perfect masters, but more reference to avatars here, I think. So it's Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, Zoroaster, Krishna, and yeah, and then he's saying the same thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Are persons who can perform miracles necessarily spiritually perfect? In the West, people are very interested in the problem of miracles. Shri Meher Baba has explained that the ability to perform miracles does not necessarily imply high spirituality. Anyone who has attained perfection and enjoys the Christ consciousness can perform miracles. Healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, and even raising the dead are quite simple for a perfect master. Even those who have not become one with the infinite, but who are only traversing the planes, can perform miracles and are able to make and unmake things. Okay, performing miracles is not actually spirituality as such.
In fact, I'm reminded of what he refers to on in some comment. I do not know where on Jesus, right? Oh yeah, it was in. It's not even Baba. It was Francis Brabazon, right? In Stay with God, he says,
Hmm.
we in our way humanity is, we reduce Jesus, who's an avatar, to a fourth planer who just does miracles, whereas he is an avatar, right? So it's a beautiful poetic expression. I remembered. I don't know the lines, obviously, but it's etched in my mind, saying how we as humanity have lowered the profile of the avatar to somebody who's a fourth planer, because Jesus is remembered for raising the dead. Jesus is remembered for giving sight to the blind. That's not what he's for here for. That's just mere miracles of the fourth plane, right? That's what I remember, right? Anyway, let's continue.
Why and when do masters perform miracles? Spiritual masters do not perform miracles to order just to satisfy idle curiosity. Miracles were performed and will be performed according to the existing circumstances. Masters have sometimes performed miracles when they intended to give a universal spiritual push.
Yeah, that's it. Universal spiritual push. Okay, good
If a
question.
master is God incarnate, why does he allow his disciples to be ill? Although spiritually of everything, the master of everything, he never unnecessarily interferes with the laws of nature and of karma, laws governing all existence, and which he himself established for the universe, which he himself established for the universe. This is the important point to
Yeah,
note here. The terrible sufferings that the past masters, who had, of course, the powers to avert these sufferings, and their disciples underwent, were due, on one hand, to these laws of nature, and, and on the other hand, to the reason that by their vicarious sufferings they were able to help spiritually all humanity. Yes. So here one uh, story or the Purana comes into my mind. All that Vishwamitra did was trying to do lot of high-end miracles, creating a part of the universe himself and all that plays in a universe. But he ultimately did not succeed. And the silent observer, the other saint, was just half laughing at him. And then ultimately, whatever was the karma of that particular person who uh, was supposed to be helped by him, was not due to that. It was his own karma which he had to experience. So even though miracle was performed, but the ultimate result was not because of the miracle. He had to experience his own effects of his own past sanskaras. So this is the message there, but this is always missed in the story. Jai Baba.
Interesting. I don't know much about Vishwamitra, but thanks for that insight. Very nice.
Yes, that's how I looked at it. With uh, what part knowledge that we are getting here. Uh, this is say all our Puranas and other things are based on stories, but the ultimate message that is given in the stories is never expressed by those who tell the stories, and also it is never implicitly put across. It is hidden, so we have to cull it out and then take it and then understand it.
True.
24. How is it that Master, being superhuman, still has hunger, thirst, and the need of sleep? The Master works on different planes: spiritual, mental, astral, and physical. And in order to work with different individuals at different stages of evolution, he comes down to their level. Even when in the physical body, he can aid highly advanced souls on the mental plane, less advanced souls on the astral plane, and ordinary human beings on the physical plane. He uses the appropriate body, spiritual, mental, subtle, astral, or physical, as the medium for his work on the required plane. It is rightly said that the best teacher is he who can come down to the level of his student. The master comes down to the level of this world for its upliftment. With this answer and the question also, I have uh, two ideas here. One is, uh, let us read that question. How is that master, being superhuman, still has hunger, thirst, and the need of sleep? So, superhuman, you'll have to define what it is. And I define the uh, later part, the hunger, thirst, and the need of sleep, or the, say, gross body or the physical existence, as just the genes. And this is stressed by Baba as evolution. So in evolution, there is this biology which brings out life, and then in a unicellular form, and then the multicellular, then the different forms, and the ultimate human stage, traversing through so many different forms. All this is achieved or totally controlled by genes. So that's why at one some point I think I just gave up on this biology and start thinking on there is something beyond this which is never controlled by genes, uh, and that should be the approach that we should have in understanding or going away from this gross body. So to give the gross body its due and then proceed further. So that's why, and the master, as he comes down in this gross body, has to have all these things: hunger, thirst, and need for sleep. But what we recognize should never be the form of the master, but the divine force or the divine consciousness, as he has called it. Uh, that is what we have to recognize in any master or any avatar. So that is Baba. Baba for me is only the divine consciousness. Jai Baba.
I think very profound and personal. So I think, yeah, the limitations of the construct or the canvas that he willingly submits himself to Makes
Yes.
him undergo certain things. Yeah. My cursor is gone. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Where would be the physical body now his medium for work has its physical needs, food and rest, which must usually be attended to physically. If necessary, he could live without food or water for weeks together. The problem of divine and human elements in the God man is difficult to comprehend, except for those who have had long personal contact with a master. This attention to the requirements of the physical body of the master, although outwardly similar, is inwardly different. It is not as with ordinary men, actuated by any desire to satisfy hunger, thirst, or sleep, nor for the pleasure that gross men derive from eating, drinking, and other enjoyments. He tends to the physical needs of the body merely to preserve it as a medium for the great work that he has to do on this physical plane. Similarly, people are puzzled by the everyday details of his material or physical life and activities, his natural, spontaneous manner, his appearance and dress, his long travel and frequent movements from place to place, his visits to theater, cinema, and places of amusement, and so on. Though he may seem to enjoy them for themselves, they are necessitated by his work. The master has no desires and can have none to gratify. His only desire, if it could rightly be called a desire, is to enable every human being to realize the self and, like him, to drink of the well of everlasting life.
Wow. Beautiful. There's a footnote which basically says
Sri
Meher
Meher
Baba is
Baba has
fasting.
often fasted for long periods. Yes, yes, his Baba's fasting is very intriguing for us to understand. No, his particular, say, peculiarities in
Fasting. Yeah.
having fasting and then having certain foods alone,
Correct.
not all types of food. That is,
He have one tea a day and only tea, only one meal a day. So many different variations that he has
yes,
uh, asked of himself, asked, I mean, imposed upon himself and also asked his lovers.
It's basically renunciation, if I can think of, and maybe a part of his universal work and beyond our, intellectual comprehension. There might be a, you know, uh, embedded higher spiritual purpose for it. But anyway, fasting is supposed to be good, even physically or even spiritually.
True.
yes.
It,
25. Why, if he knows everything, does the master ask questions? The impressions of the experiences of the innumerable past lives of an individual remain in his mental body in the form of thoughts which lie like seeds, latent and unmanifested. When faced with suitable circumstances and environments, these thoughts are expressed in the subtle body as desires and emotions, and these, when expressed more fully, develop into the physical actions in the gross body. So this is a central theme on which Baba has explained all the things. Uh,
Correct.
okay, can you just go up? Yes. The master knows the expressed as well as the unexpressed thoughts of everyone. Yet he sometimes asks questions. while asking questions, he acts through his working on the inner planes upon the expressed and unexpressed impressions of the individual or individuals with whom he is speaking, and renders them impotent while they are still in the mental body, so that they cannot develop and eventually be expressed in the form of desires and actions. So this is a very complex but a very clear idea what is done by Baba. The
And he
master
asks
knows the
questions.
expressed as well as the unexpressed thoughts of everyone. Yet he sometimes asks questions. While asking questions, he acts through his working on the inner planes upon the expressed and unexpressed impressions of the individual or individuals with whom he is speaking, and renders them impotent while they are still in the mental body, so that they cannot develop and eventually be expressed in the form of desires and actions. So, to say, clear out these mental uh, bubbling in the individual or the disciples around him, so that they partly give up their mental body or still that the mental body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
even in
it's
the
more than that.
Rama's travel in the jungles looking for his wife. He, of course, he knew where Sita was, and he was asking all the animals, trees, not even humans actually. He was asking even animals and trees and the
Mhm.
monkeys, if they say, or the tribals, where my wife is actually. Jai Baba.
In short, the master, through his subtle working, checks certain evil thoughts in their very growth, eradicates the unexpressed desires, and thus prevents them developing into the corresponding actions, which might cause harm to the individual and hinder his spiritual progress. So this gives an sort of a hint how Baba worked. So he used to kindle his group with lot of questions and antics that he used to do, so that certain thought processes in the group is either put at rest or faulted totally, so that they will progress further towards actual mononash later. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely, Martin. Very beautifully put by Baba. And Karthik, I will request you to underline this last paragraph for future people who read. Yeah, it's very, I mean, very nice.
Yeah.
Even Baba will just initiate out of the blue some questions. What do you think of me? Something like that. Everybody will start giving answers. Then from there he'll give on an expression. It's like a experienced school teacher. He just throws up a question to his students. And they give answers. Then finally he gives the detailed clarification. So it's
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah,
right.
Baba.
Good perspective. Basically, he's just testing our where we have understood or reached, and then he clarifies. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Very beautiful. Yeah. So, but then I think this is explained very beautifully here, saying that he draws it out literally to curb and address some deficiencies in us, basically. So he was working constantly on the Mandali and the Baba lovers when he was asking those questions. It was not idle question. It was always a purposeful question where those questions were meant to do something on the impressions upon whom those questions were asked and were relevant to. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Basically, it might be the balancing of the sanskaras or some greater, greater purpose. Yes, beautiful.
Yes, it is one way of the grace working.
Correct.
Yes. We
Okay.
always think, what is grace? How does it function or affect my psyche and all that? So here there is a clarification. When Baba asks you to do certain things or ask a question, so there is something going on to make us go further in the path.
Hey, so section 5, very
Yeah.
interesting questions coming up. So, Ashok, you want to read? Shall I read? Whichever. Are you in a position to read? Then you can read.
Or you can read. Karthik has not read for a long
Okay, let me read.
time.
Part 5, questions about Shri Meher Baba's mission. I'll read the questions first. 26A, what is it that Shri Meher Baba has come into the world to teach? 26B, what is his object in coming to the West? 26C, what is his mission? 27, does Sri Meher Baba claim to be the avatar of the new dispensation? Remember again, this is 1933.
Yes.
Number 28, whence does he derive his authority? How does he know that he is God realized? 28, very interesting questions. 29A, when will the spiritual revival take place? 29B, when does it usually occur? 29C, in what sphere of life will its effect be most obvious? 30, why does he intend speaking in England instead of in America? 31, will his work create opposition? 32, will he bring peace and happiness to the world? 33, how can he bridge the gulf between the East and the West? Right? So let's take one at a time. 26A, what is it that Sri Meher Baba has come into the world to teach? Apparently, his message pertains to divine love. Interesting. So it's suddenly switching to third person now. Till now, all the answers were in first person, right? So if you look at all the answers till now, no, it's all in third person. The master knows. Okay.
Uh,
So it is third person. Apparently, his message pertains to divine love, universal brotherhood, right living, and the elimination of the motive of self interest. I repeat, apparently, his message pertains to divine love, universal brotherhood, right living, and the elimination of the motive of self interest. I think it's a good summary of the important things in his message. Very, very
Yes.
simple and very profound. Divine love, universal brotherhood, right way to live, and the Baba's usage of the word move to selflessness and the true nature of selfness in all, right? So the elimination of the motive of self-interest. But in reality, Sri Meher Baba has not come to teach. He has come to awaken. By the power of the divine love, which flows from him continually, he transforms the consciousness of those who come to him for liberation, that they may know through experience what the philosophers have tried to teach theoretically through the ages. Beautiful answer, right? So, the four important things, and then what he does with the power of divine love is basically transform from theory to practice to all those people who are in the path.
So this reminds me of that bridging theory with practice, which Kama usually mentions. How to bridge the theory and practice.
Yeah.
Jai.
So let's go to 26B. What is his object in coming to the West? So I think there was an impending trip because there are 2, 3 questions about the West. Maybe there was a upcoming trip. His coming to the West is not with the object of establishing new creeds or spiritual societies or organizations, but for the purpose of making people understand religion in its true sense. He will revitalize all religions and cults and bring them together like beads on one string. So the famous usage is back. 26C. What is his mission? It is to make mankind realize, not only through intellect, but by actual experience, the one infinite self which is in all. Before we can attain to everlasting peace and experience constant joy, we must realize the God within ourselves and in everything we see and meet. Shri Meher Baba has attained to that realization. The whole purpose of his incarnation is to help others to attain to a like realization. So again, onus is on putting it into practice, getting it to actual experience, and assistance of the master in getting others to get to that state. Right. Now, 27. Does Sri Meher Baba claim to be the avatar of the new dispensation? Such a claim would have no value until it were substantiated. And once it were substantiated, there would be no need of claims. What Sri Meher Baba is and the nature of his mission will be abundantly demonstrated at the time of his public manifestation. Note 1. Article was written in America. Okay, this answer is, this question is answered there. So it may be said, however, that some of Sri Meher Baba's closest disciples have come to believe, not through words or explanations, but through deep inner experience, that Sri Meher Baba is such a being as Jesus was, and that he has come into the world now to effect that transformation of consciousness, which is a necessary prelude to the establishment of the new civilization. It may also be said that to those with whom he lived during his recent visits to this country, US of A, Sri Meher Baba gave ample proofs of being able to extend the consciousness of other individuals at will. So it gives you also a glimpse into the thinking of the people around him at that time, right? Any thoughts, any discussions? Okay, let's continue.
Ah, you are referring to 1933 constantly, no? So he has not revealed or announced that he is the avatar.
Avatar. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, but then the people were already there, right? That Sri
Yes,
Meher
yes.
Baba is being as Jesus was. So
Yes, yes.
the editors have already thought about that, and obviously the Americans who were receiving and dealing with him at that time were already in that thought. And this is 1933. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashok.
Karthik, I just want to add. Yeah. If I may. Um, I think Baba is always thinking about the bringing together the East and the West, and that's why there's this East-West connect, or how to bring back, this whole spiritual realm into both the East and the West, and the connect between them.
Yes.
Yes. There's also a question on that in this section that's coming up on the East
Oh,
and the West. Yeah. So let's.
maybe anyway.
Yeah, we'll read it. Yes. 28. Whence does Sri Meher Baba derive his authority? How does he know that he is God realized? Just as an individual from the actual experience that he has of being a human can authoritatively see that he is say I'll read again. Just as an individual, from the actual experience that he has of being a human, can authoritatively say that he is a human being, so does he, from his own continuous conscious experience of oneness with the infinite, know of his godhood. So if you look at these answers, many of these are very similar and paraphrasable to his declaration of avatarhood as well, right? So you can see the commonality in the tone and tenor of those messages, this message and these answers and that message, right? Okay, 3 questions under 29. When will the spiritual revival take place? When does it usually occur? And in what sphere of life will its effect be most obvious? The spiritual revival that you ask about is not far off, and his approaching manifestation will be the signal. He will utilize the tremendous amount of energy, often misapplied, possessed by the West, particularly by America, for the purpose. So he will utilize the tremendous amount of energy, often misapplied, possessed by the West, particularly by America, for the purpose. So he will use the energy to actually power the spiritual revival. Such a spiritual outburst usually takes place every 7 or 800 years at the end or beginning of a cycle, and it is only the perfect one who has reached the state of Christ consciousness who can appeal to all and work universally. Shri Meher Baba's working will embrace everything. It will penetrate into every phase of life. Perfection would fall far short of the ideal if it were to accept one thing and eschew another. Beautiful, right? So all 3 questions are answered together. So I was curious to see what are the characteristics of when, if he's specifically answering, but he is not. And again, in what sphere of life will its effect be most obvious? Again, there's a general combined answer for all three, right?
No, for that question he has told, no, 700 to 800 years.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
The second part is 700 to 800 years. Yeah. Okay. Number 30. Why does Sri Meher Baba intend speaking in England instead of in America? Owing to the postponement of his speaking and the change in circumstances, Europe is better suited for breaking his silence than America. Yet, as he has said before, America will be the center of his great spiritual working in future and will play a prominent part in the organization and development of his plans for the upliftment of humanity. England has a special spiritual significance for many reasons. His first emissary to the West was sent there. The first Western disciples to come to him in India were English. His first visit to the West was to England. There, his first Western ashram or spiritual retreat was established. And in England, the plans for his Western work were prepared. This spiritual value, added to the changes in circumstances and time, makes England the more suitable place for the breaking of his silence. And since his first place of residence and association with his close disciples was in London, it will be there that his first public speech will be delivered. His many announcements of breaking of his silence. Question 31. Will his work create opposition? His work will create both great enthusiasm and a certain amount of opposition. This is inevitable, but all spiritual work is eventually strengthened by opposition, and so it will be with his. It is like the shooting of an arrow from a bow. The more you pull the bowstring, the farther the arrow flies. Will Sri Meher Baba bring peace and happiness to the world? There exists at the present moment a universal dissatisfaction and an indescribable longing for something that will end the terrible chaos and misery that overshadows the world just now. He is going to satisfy this longing and will lead the world to real happiness. The disorders in the world without are a reflection of the disorders within. Sri Meher Baba will enable mankind to solve their inner problems by awakening the divine elements in them. I just did not realize that 1933 is just years after the Depression, the Great Depression, from a economic standpoint, right?
Yes.
So that's what's being referred to here. But analogously, we are at a similar situation even now, right? There exists at the present moment a universal dissatisfaction and an indescribable longing for something that will end the terrible chaos and misery that overshadows the world just now. It is as applicable in 2023. He is going to satisfy this longing and will lead the world to real happiness. And so he will. The disorders in the world without are a reflection of the disorders within. Sri Meher Baba will enable mankind to solve their inner problems by awakening the divine elements in them. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba. Karthik, this can also be related to the chapter on new humanity in discourses.
Exactly. I was reminded, yes.
And the lag, the lust, anger, greed, the ego. So what was there then still exists now, maybe in different proportions or different intensities. But so that's what the internal conflict creates the external conflicts of wars. We are having the Ukraine war and so many other, you know, political disturbances. So that's all a manifestation of the inner chaos. Jai Baba.
Absolutely. Question 33. How can he bridge the gulf between East and West? He is doing this in many ways internally as well as externally. Recently, he has traveled from East to West and from West to East. He has visited Europe 5 times, Italy 4 times, England thrice, America twice, Africa twice, China once, and he has encircled the globe. Again, gentlemen, this is 1933. He's already traveled so many times.
One interesting point here:
Mhm.
Europe 5 times, Italy 4 times. Is Italy not part of Europe?
Yeah, and England. So England, Italy is already there, right? So yeah. So
Yes.
I don't know what
Okay.
what that means. Yeah.
Probably it's the reference to the Francis of Assisi and other places in Italy where of spiritual significance. Same with England. Maybe they have mentioned it separately so that to link his you know visits to that particular places where he went for spiritual work.
Yeah, at least numerically expressed, it's not wrong, right? So Italy 4 times and England thrice means Europe has to be larger than that. So mathematically, they have not made a mistake. So Europe is higher than the sum of these two, right? So I
Yes.
mean, not sum of these two, but at least the
Yeah.
individual numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
The elements of Brexit has come into this.
Already. That's a good one. Yeah. He has explained, I continue reading, he has explained that these journeys were for the purpose of laying cables between East and West. So, this is a frequently used expression when he talks of the West. So, his work was around laying cables. He has frequently used that expression. He has taken some of the Eastern disciples to the West, has brought some of his Western disciples to the East. Thus, the impressions of the East are brought to the West and vice versa. The external or physical action of bringing together East and West has its personal side. Every one of his disciples looks upon the others, whether Eastern or Western, as members of the same family, of which the beloved and revered master is at once the father, mother, guide, and guru. And while
That's our
this,
friend.
oh, sorry, I'll read the line again. Every one of his disciples looks upon the others, whether Eastern or Western, as members of the same family, of which the beloved and revered master is at once the father, mother, friend, guide, and guru. And while this intimate feeling is now confined to the circle of his close devotees, the great gulf of religious and social differences will also be truly bridged, and a healthy and happy reunion of all brought about. For when he speaks and manifests his divinity, a worldwide transformation of consciousness will then cause all ideas of superiority and inferiority concerning race, color, caste, and creed to disappear. The East has been the place of his birth, of his realization of godhood from manhood, and therefore, and thereafter, of his long silent activities for the upliftment of humanity. He has many times withdrawn to mountains and caves for his spiritual working. In India and Persia, he has established ashrams, spiritual retreats, to prepare and lead seekers after truth towards their ideal. And now he has decided to break his vow of silence in the West, which will be the scene of his manifestation and the principal center of his activities for humanity. These will all help to bridge the gulf between East and West and lead to a clearer mutual understanding. His teachings are largely concerned with forming a lasting union of all existing races and religions into a harmonious whole. Beautiful, very beautiful. I think that brings us to the end of a section. So we can go to section 6, which is the personal questions next week. And maybe we may need just one more day to finish this. I'm just thinking I wanted to do a clean start for discourses from a weekend, from a Saturday ideally. So we'll try to do something to spread this over 2 days next week, or we'll pick something up and we'll start discourses the week of what is it? Anybody having a calendar? Just 1 second. So week
25th and 26th of March.
Karthik, are you there?
Karthik muted.
Yeah, probably he's muted. Yes. Karthik, we can't hear you.
I don't know how that happened. Sorry. I think it happened through a keyboard shortcut. So I was looking at the calendar. Thank you, Sanjay ji. 25th, 26th it is. 25th, and Kama, this is important for you. Please take the first of the seven themes and think up of all the references and co-reading that we do, right? So I think there's some work that you have to do before 25th, so that and then on and on as we progress through the book. Please take up those the themes, and for those themes, think of all the relevant reading across the Baba world, the Baba literature, and I think it will be a very interesting deep dive into discourses. With that, I will pause recording, but hang on for a few minutes.